Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. We are going to start the session. It is part of a series, Pillars of Holistic Health and Longevity. We started these sessions 3 weeks ago. Today is the third session. Raymond Francis, a surgeon, says, "We have a system of medicine that is fundamentally stupid. We do nothing to prevent disease. We wait for people to get sick. Once they are sick, instead of curing their disease, we suppress the symptoms by prescribing toxic chemicals and doing surgery. Then the toxicity of the chemicals makes the patient even sicker, creating entirely new diseases. And then finally, to hide the fact that the patient is now sicker than when they started, we don't call these new problems diseases, but we call them side effects. It is not in the interests of the medical industry or the pharmaceutical industry to practice preventative medicine because no one makes money. Friends, today's topic is all about Eat to Beat Disease, the longevity feast. It is termed as a feast because the people of the blue zones, the centenarians, live long, healthy lives and they're always feasting. So the mystery is, what is it that they feast on which leads them to live long, healthy lives? Just a disclaimer, my presentation is not intended to provide medical advice. It is intended for information purposes only. Please kindly note that I'm not from the medical field, but my research is based on the work of scientists and medical professionals. If you decide to make changes, please do consult with your GP. My presentation is based on my own experience and in no way implies that this is a universal cure, as I recognize that each individual is unique. Also, I have no hidden agenda. I'm not making anything out of this, just sharing some wisdom. Knowledge is power. So what is this series all about? For those of you who have joined the series for the first time today, all of us want to be healthy because good health allows us to enjoy life, progress spiritually, and achieve our goals. We want to be healthy physically, mentally, and spiritually. This series is all about holistic health and longevity, and specifically increasing health span naturally. Treating the root cause of all diseases through lifestyle changes rather than treating diseases with medication one by one as they come. And longevity may be one of the side effects of these lifestyle changes. Let us recap now on what we talked about last week. We are looking at the first pillar of the 5 pillars of holistic health, The first pillar starts with M, mouth. Within the first pillar, we looked at fasting. A group of mice, all the mice were sort of brothers, were split into two groups. One group was fed all the food, whereas the other group was fed only 60% of that. The group which was fed 60% lived 40% longer and was healthier. So one can assume that just by reducing the caloric intake, but eating throughout the day, one would actually live longer and healthier. However, this did not turn out to be the case. The mice which were fed 60% less, but throughout the day, the mice were thinner, but they did not necessarily live longer. Then the mice were fed in a shorter feeding window. They were fed 60%, but in a shorter feeding window. And that actually upregulated the mechanism against aging. So Dr. Nir Barzilai is from the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, said, you need fasting to upregulate the mechanism against aging. One of the other prominent scientists in the field of longevity is David Sinclair, a biologist from Harvard Medical School. What does he tell us? He says, when you skip a meal or two, you are turning on the body's defenses against aging. And Dr. Luisa Petre says, it is recycling. And what is fasting? Fasting is recycling and cleaning at the same time, just like hitting a reset button to your body. Today, we live in a world of abundance of food, which has resulted in us eating all the time. The pandemic hasn't helped us. We are at home and the snacking has really increased. Dr. Jamna Das is a Florida-based consultant cardiologist and a clinical assistant professor with more than 30 years of experience. He has a keen interest in preventative health. He has performed thousands of interventional procedures during his career. You probably wouldn't expect a cardiologist to tell you that not eating is a key to better health. He's passionate believer in finding new solutions to all diseases and in finding those solutions within ourselves. He advises his patients to fast. He tells us about the restorative processes that take place in the body when we take longer breaks from food. And he details the discoveries he's made about fasting and its effect on insulin, metabolic health, obesity, and heart health. His patients experience benefits ranging from weight loss to reversing diabetes, lowering blood pressure and cholesterol, to increasing longevity. His patients not only talk about the astounding difference fasting is making to their lives, but also the ripple effect that changing their beliefs and habits around food has had on their mental well-being and the rest of their lives. His educational videos on fasting and heart health have been viewed by hundreds of thousands on YouTube channel. So is food our fuel or something else? A lot of people think that food is our fuel, but we forget that it is also the raw material with which every single cell of our body is made up of. It doesn't make sense to think that what we eat is not going to impact our health. It does so, and also very profoundly. So the food that we eat should contribute to health and healing rather than to disease. When you have a diet and lifestyle-induced disease, what you put in your mouth can serve either as gasoline or water on the fire. When you eat unhealthy foods, you are putting gasoline on the fire. And when you eat healthy plant-based foods, it can serve as water on the fire. These are decisions that each of us need to make for ourselves. There is nobody that can eat for you or exercise for you. You are the captain of your own ship, and you have a responsibility to take care of your body. Next, we look at the blue zones. Dan Buettner looked around the world for the healthiest and longest lived people. It's not just they live to be 100 years, but in their later years, they're actually productive, healthy, doing everything they did when they were 70. One of the interesting stories Dan Buettner tells us is that he went to Okinawa to interview a 100-year-old man. He arrived at his home knowing that he lived with a 70-year-old son. He saw this man walking towards his garden with shorts and tools thrown over his shoulder. This guy was walking very briskly. Dan thought, this must be the son. So he ran over and said, could you tell me where your father is, as I'm here to interview your father? It turned out that he was actually talking to the father. These centenarians are just very productive at these advanced years. So the first blue zone is Loma Linda, California, where most people live 10 years more than the similar population in the US. In Nicoya, Costa Rica, there are a high number of centenarians and in good health. The third blue zone is Sardinia, Italy, where there are 10 times more centenarians than anywhere else on Earth. Ikaria, Greece, 1 in 3 will make it to their 90s. And Okinawa, Japan, there are 5 times more centenarians than the rest of the world. So now we need to look at the blue zone diet. So what do they eat? The first most important principle is 95% of the food comes from a plant. Studies have shown, so the best of the best longevity foods in the blue zone diet are leafy greens, such as spinach, kale, beet, turnip tops, chard, and collards. Studies have shown that middle-aged people who consume the equivalent of a cup of cooked greens daily were half as likely to die in the next 4 years as someone who ate no greens. Now, the funniest thing is that of the 95% of food that they eat from plants, 50 to 80% of the calories actually come from carbohydrates. Today in the Western world, carbs are actually demonized. If we look at the diet of the Western world, 90% of the carbohydrates in the Western world are coming from refined foods. What do we mean by refined carbohydrates? You take a grain of wheat and you remove everything that is of value from the wheat, the germ, the bran, and what you are left with is The endosperm. Endosperm is pure starch. There is very little nutritional value left. So what do you do? Do you eat a bowl of white flour? Nobody eats a bowl of white flour. You add junk to it. You add fat, sugar, salt, preservatives, additives, colors, flavors. Then you eat the bowl of white flour as cookies and crackers. We wonder why we are dying of these diet-induced diseases. You can't remove everything of value that's naturally present in a plant and add junk to it and think it is going to sustain human health. It just doesn't happen. Within the plant food, they have a daily dose of beans. What they suggest is eat at least half a cup of cooked beans daily. Beans are the cornerstone of every blue zone diet in the world. Black beans in Nicoya, lentils, garbazano, and white beans in the Mediterranean, and soybeans in Okinawa. One 5-country study financed by the World Health Organization found that eating 20 grams of beans every day reduced a person's risk of dying in any given year by about 8%. On an average, people in blue zones eat at least 4 times as many beans as we do. The third part of what they eat in their plant-based diet is their snack on nuts. What they suggest is eat 2 handfuls of nuts per day. And what are the nuts that they snack on? In Ikaria, they snack on almonds. In Nicoya, they snack on pistachios. And the Adventists, they eat all nuts. So nut eaters, on an average, outlive non-nut eaters by 2 to 3 years. Now let us look at what the power of a plant-based diet is. So if we look at Frances Greger, she was the grandmother of Dr. Michael Greger. She had end-stage heart disease, and she had multiple bypass operations. She went to see her cardiologist, and the cardiologist said, we can do no more bypass operations because there are no veins left in the leg with which we can do a bypass operation. All the plumbing has been used up. So Frances Greger, at the age of 65, was sent home in a wheelchair with a death sentence. She was sent home to die. She admitted herself into one of the earliest sort of centers of plant-based diet, Pritikin Center. She went on a plant-based diet and exercise. The miracle then happened. Within 3 weeks, Frances no longer required a wheelchair. She could walk 10 miles per day. She lived a further 31 years on plant-based nutrition. This, my friends, is the power of a plant-based diet. So Neil Bernard, who is the president of the Physicians Committee in the US, says, if you change your diet to a plant-based diet and do it very vigorously, you have enormous power. You can reverse heart disease, you can prevent it. And what does Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn tell us? He is the author of Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. He says, once you start eating plant-based foods, you make yourself heart attack proof. We know that people who eat this way will not have a heart attack. I mean, just think about this. Heart disease is one of the biggest diseases, killer diseases in the world today. Just by switching over to a pure whole food plant-based diet, we will become heart attack proof. He then tells us it is a foodborne illness. Heart disease is a foodborne illness, and we are never going to end this epidemic with stents, with bypasses, with drugs, because none of that is treating the causation of the disease. So let us, in brief, look at what the health benefits of a plant-based diet are. The first one is it promotes good health and reduces medication requirements. Second one is it lowers BMI and body fat. Third one is it lowers overall mortality. Fourth one is it prevents and reverses coronary heart disease. Fifth one is it also prevents and reverses type 2 diabetes. It reduces incidence of hypertension and high cholesterol. It improves symptoms from chronic illnesses such as gout, rheumatoid arthritis, and MS. It boosts immunity. 60% of our immunity is in our gut. It prevents autoimmune diseases, and it also prevents many cancers. So what does Neil Bernard, president of the Physicians Committee, have to tell us about a plant-based diet? He says, a plant-based diet is a powerful tool for preventing, managing, and even reversing type 2 diabetes. Then he tells us, not only is this the most delicious prescription you can imagine, but it's also easy to follow. Unlike other diets, there is no calorie counting, no skimpy portions, and no carb counting. Plus, all the side effects are good ones. So in a nutshell, what do we need to minimize or avoid? First of all, we need to minimize or avoid completely is animal products. Why? Animal protein promotes cancer growth. It is also associated with, with heart disease and stroke. In animal protein, we have high levels of IGF-1, which also promote cancer growth. We've got a lot of cholesterol in it and saturated fat. Then we need to avoid dairy. We know that human beings are the only mammals who drink the milk of another mammal. Milk is secretion designed to feed babies. Milk does not contain any nutrient that we cannot get elsewhere. Milk calcium is not necessarily protective against osteoporosis. The highest incidence of osteoporosis and weak bones is in countries with the highest consumption of milk, namely Norway, Finland, Sweden, Australia, UK, and USA. Cows do not produce calcium. They get it from eating greens. Milk is very high in saturated fat. Milk protein, casein, is linked to a number of cancers, namely prostate and ovarian, and liver cancer in children. Processed foods, they have been stripped of fiber. They are loaded in salt, sugar, and fat. They are low in nutrients. They contain a lot of artificial ingredients. And when we look at the label, it's as if we are reading a chemistry book. And they have been altered and engineered for overconsumption. Sugar is obviously addictive, results in weight gain, indirect cause of diabetes, results in a weakened immune system, and can result in liver failure and heart disease. And the final one is oil. Oil is just empty calories. There are no nutrients in oil if we compare them to carbs and proteins. Each gram has 9 calories, whereas carbs and proteins have 4 calories. It is a processed food. We should be able to get all the fat that we require from eating nuts, whole plants, nuts, seeds, avocados, etc. So what do we eat? We eat fruits, we eat vegetables, we eat whole grains, we eat pulses, and we eat nuts and seeds. From plants, we get all the micronutrients. We get vitamins and minerals, phytonutrients, antioxidants, fiber, and plant-based diets are low in saturated fat and cholesterol. So now we look at the China study. T. Colin Campbell, the author of the China study, what does he have to tell us about plant foods? He says, whole plant-based foods prevent diseases across the board. What is good for your heart is also good for your brain, your liver, kidneys, and the nervous system. Nutrients from animal products promote cancer growth, whereas nutrients from plant foods decrease cancer growth. So what are the other lessons that we learn from the blue zones? The first lesson we learn is stop eating when you are 80% full. Okinawans practice Hara Hachibu, a Confucian mantra that loosely translates belly 80% full. The healthiest people in the world don't eat until they are uncomfortably full. Rather, they stop eating when they are about 80% full. It sounds simple, but it can take some practice to stop eating at the point of satisfaction when you are used to eating until you are stuffed. The best way to do this is to adopt mindful practices. Eat meals at a table with all the devices turned off. Take your time at meals and chew your food thoroughly. There is a saying that your stomach does not have any teeth. Above all, stay patient. With time, it's possible to train your body to stop eating when you are 80% full. The other lesson that we learn is eat your smallest meal later in the day. Have you heard the saying, eat breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and dinner like a pauper? But I don't quite agree with this because as per Ayurveda, when we wake up in the morning, the digestive juices haven't actually started working. So I would probably rephrase this like, eat your breakfast like a prince, lunch like a king, and dinner like a pauper. People in blue zones tend to follow this dining pattern and may be healthier for it. Indeed, large observational studies have linked large evening meals and nighttime snacking with increased risk for obesity, metabolic syndrome, and other related health conditions. Ready to give it a try? Start by avoiding snacks after dinner. Once your appetite adjusts, you can work towards eating larger meals during the day and smaller ones at night. In the first session, we talked about genetic and epigenetic changes. We said 20% is genetic and 80% is epigenetic. We talked about sirtuins. They seem to protect the body against diseases of aging. The idea is As we get older, genes are switched on and off in the wrong way. The problem during aging is that chemicals come in and stick to the histones, the DNA, the DNA where DNA is packaged in, and turn genes on. It is this what we call epigenetic change, and that is reversible. These sirtuins actually make proteins. What the sirtuin proteins do in our body is that they clip off the chemical groups. And now the gene that was turned on in the old person goes off again. And that's what the sirtuins are doing in our bodies right now. So we saw in the last series that they are stimulated when we don't eat and when we exercise. However, they turn off when we have a large pizza. However, there are certain natural plant compounds which may be able to increase the level of these proteins in our body. And foods containing sirtuins have been dubbed as sirt foods. And some of these foods are green tea, dark chocolate, apples, citrus fruits, parsley, turmeric, kale, and blueberries. So by eating a plant-based diet, we are also adding longevity to our diet. In the first session, we also talked about telomeres, that we may have more control over our aging than we think. The telomeres are structures at the tip of chromosomes that play a key role in cellular aging. They sit at the end of strands of DNA like the protective caps on shoelaces. Stress from a rough lifestyle will shorten those caps, making it more likely that cells will stop dividing and essentially die. These telomeres shorten each time a cell divides. Elizabeth Blackburn tells us lengthening telomeres with medication could be dangerous. Lifestyle changes are far safer than a pill. So what will help us keep our telomeres long? Diet. Consumption of certain foods will actually help with the length of telomeres. So it has been shown that berries, mushrooms, oats, flaxseed actually help with the length of telomeres. So let's pause for a second and look at food for thought. What we've covered today is once you start eating plant-based foods, you make yourself heart attack proof. The longest lived people eat a plant-based diet. Nothing they eat has a wrapper. Are we feeding health or are we fueling disease? If it is from a plant, eat it. If it is made in a plant, skip it. And the final one is food turns genes on and off. So what are we going to cover next? First of all, we have done the first pillar, which is M for mouth. We've looked at fasting and feasting. By fasting and feasting, meaning eating the right foods, we can beat disease, we can increase our health span and longevity. Next week, we start with the second pillar, which is M for mind. And within mind, we are going to look at meditation. We are going to look at blue zones and stress reduction techniques. We are going to look at meditation and longevity. We are going to look at meditation and stress reduction. And we are going to look at meditation and mental illness. And finally, meditation and spirituality. So thank you. Do you want to share your experiences of a plant-based diet? Or if you have any questions, please let me know. You feel free to unmute yourself and also switch on your video. And if there are any questions you want to put in the chat, please feel free to do so.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, Ramesh, yes.
Yeah, so that was a very, very wonderful and informative on the second part of the mouth M, the feasting. I was just noting down all these wonderful points you had been sharing. So very, very interesting. I think, it's so very to the point, science-based, very clear. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. And we have one question in the chat that came direct to me. So the question is, what foods do we need to take to avoid or to reduce inflammation of gut, I think.
Is it gout or is it?
Gout.
So basically an alkaline diet where we don't eat acidic foods. So foods which are going to be processed foods or very spicy foods will make the whole body acidic. So if we avoid those foods and again focus just on whole food plant-based diet, a diet with maybe half of the foods being eaten raw, meaning one of the meals being a very large salad, will definitely help. There is obviously, I've got a question here, which is a personal question, but I'll answer it. It says, what sort of schedule do I follow? So we sort of, my wife and I became plant-based, fully plant-based. I mean, we've always been vegetarian. The issue with being vegetarian, but eating a lot of junk food was, my lifestyle was, before January 2019, obviously eating, I've always been a vegetarian, but I was eating a lot of savory foods. We like our chevdas and our fafdas and all that fried Indian food. But at the same time, I would come home after the finishing at the office. I would come home, have dinner, and then I was one of those secret eaters. I would then, after an hour, I felt hungry, so I had a chocolate, and then I would have an ice cream, and I would have a packet of crisps, and that literally, worsened my health. So in 2019, in January, sort of that first turnaround point came when we decided to become completely plant-based. When we were plant-based, I left milk. When leaving milk was the addiction to cheese because it's so salty. So the cheese went and the pizzas went, and then the health improved significantly. However, after listening to David Sinclair and Pradeep Jamnadas and everyone else, I thought that fasting may actually make a difference. And that's when we started with 12-12, just an intermittent fasting, increased that slowly to 14-10. And luckily now we are sort of at 16-8. The difficulty was my wife obviously prefers to eat early in the day, and I prefer to eat later in the day. So then slowly we were doing like 12 noon to 8 p.m. And now we've shifted it from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And that has made a lot of difference. Having an empty stomach when you go to sleep just makes everything so much better. Then the second stage of the fasting was, should we try a water fast? As a sadhu, I used to fast five days a month, every month, but hadn't done that for many years, for 20 years. So then I decided to take the bold step and try it out to see how do I feel. So we started doing a 1-day water fast every week. And that has literally, there's just so much more energy in the body. And I feel so different. So I felt really great when we went vegan. However, when starting the intermittent fasting and a water fast 1 day a week has really transformed the health. I feel just so much better. There is so much more energy, and sometimes when you walk fast, you actually feel like running. You could run for miles. That is the feeling that I get. So that is the sort of plant-based diet and the fasting lifestyle that we observe, and that's the benefits that we are experiencing. But it would be great if some of you who are following any of such practices could share what your experiences are.
Yeah, maybe I would like to share my personal experiences, Dinesh. So yes, I had been a vegetarian, complete vegetarian from 2009. But then very recently coming across, let's say October last year, hearing about this autophagy. So we turned into, let's say, eating only 2 meals, and that too in a slot between 7 o'clock and 5 o'clock. So this is what we could come across. And then, as you said, by the time the sleeping pattern had been completely improved, and the energy during the day is tremendously, completely different, always energetic. And a lot of things had changed even at the thought process. Lot of change, a lot of awareness. And then let's say now a month, we have also switched off all the milk products, animal products. So I think that had been also a game changer. So we are now noticing how the body is responding, how everything is, falling into place naturally when we gave up, milk products, dairy products, and everything. So experiencing it, and I'm sure, I'm happy, at least I'm trying it now. And I'm sure everyone, I was also thinking, how would that be if we stop milk products, yogurt. I'm not that much fan of milk, but yogurt, yes. But then when I stopped, I did realize there are certain alternatives, still plant-based. But even then, without them, the body feels so happier that I just feel, wow, at least now I could give a try and really like it. So, so very happy to hear those confirming explanations in all these 3 sessions of yours. So wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Dinesh.
Sailaja ji.
Hello, Dinesh ji. It was really a nice session. Actually, I would like to share my experience.
Thank you.
Yeah. Initially, before like 6 to 7 years back, till then I was having non-veg, and I was a great fan of chicken. Uh, and slowly, after before my second baby could come, I don't know, I saw some few videos about the slaughtering of cows, which somewhere it started hitting me. Slowly, around like 1 year, I took some time on and off. I moved to vegetarian. And then after coming to Germany from 2000, I think 19, 19, I started to have intermediate fasting. And also, I was more into millets, the barnyard, foxtail millet, and all. That actually changed my lifestyle completely, I can say, wherein I could reduce around 8 to 10 kgs. Slowly, I'm moving now to Sattvic lifestyle, like wherein, it's about 1 month. I'm trying it out. It's like on and off. I can't say I'm doing it 100%. Like I'm starting my day with vegetable juice, and lunch. It's the usual thing, maybe chapati or millet rice, and dinner. I'm replacing it with salad. So, but the biggest challenge I'm facing is to replace the dairy products. So I'm trying it now. Maybe in another 10 to 15 days, I could give some more
Yeah.
updates on that.
And which is fine, which is very good. What you're doing is really excellent. And perhaps in a few weeks' time, you may be bold enough to then attempt giving up the dairy products as well. But everyone must remember that when you become a fully plant-based, there are three things that we need. One is we need to take vitamin B12 supplements. Please don't forget to take vitamin D supplements. And the third thing is make sure you got a bigger pension because you will live longer. Uh, Minaji, please go ahead.
Yeah, hello, sir. I'm listening to you past 3 weeks. It's very nice,
Thank
and I would like to share my experience with.
Please.
I'm a vegetarian, not basically vegetarian, but from childhood, I've seen like chicken slaughtering and all. When I used to go with my parents, I used to see that. So I stopped meat at home. I'm the only one vegetarian in a non-vegetarian family, and after getting married, my kids and my husband, they all are non-veg. So but when I entered meditation, I asked my husband also to enter into meditation, so he automatically stopped
Very good.
eating meat. So that one change. And coming to the dairy products, my daughter has acne all over the face because of I thought it's only a teenage hormones and all changes in the body and all. But once I was listening to TEDx talks on, someone mentioned that stop dairy and everything will change. So I stopped it and it worked. Her face is very clear. She stopped having milk and all. Then slowly I started digging more to read why dairy has to be stopped. If we leave about all the emotions that are related to, okay, harassing cows for milk and all, but if we see at the health benefits of what happens if you take dairy, what diseases we get, we'll be more interested in moving on to the vegetarian lifestyle, leaving the dairy products. And recently I'm attending a Sattvic movement. I follow their videos and recipes and all. I attended a workshop with them. It's very interesting. And I changed my lifestyle a little bit after that. I early morning, I start with the detox juice, anything with the green juice,
Well,
and then little bit of fruits and oats. And then lunch is not that big meal. I stopped eating varieties of, I like my papads, I like my rasams, that there's so many varieties, fried items and all. I kept it like easy digestion foods because working from home it's easy. So I can make something like raw veggies, boiled veggies with something. But something I'm not able to give up more. I gave curd. Occasionally I'll have, but milk I completely stopped. I'm very fond of all milk sweets, that payasam and all the doodh pedas and all that I stopped. And one thing I'm not able to give up is ghee. I haven't used it past 2 months, but sometimes that ghee, because when I read these Ayurvedic books and old lifestyle and all, they say the ghee is very good.
because
Ghee
it's
is
got
very
a lot
good
of
for
omega.
health.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. But that thing I'm thinking like how ghee is very good. Even if I read the something books written by Sadhguru on the food books and all, he mentions that the oldest the ghee, it is better for health.
Yes.
So only that one thing I'm not able to give up is ghee. Can you please explain how
Well,
to?
this
Yeah,
is a sort of a dilemma. So personally, if you could potentially have a little ghee and then it should still be okay. So give an example. Just recently, someone had cancer and it was like fourth stage, and they went to India, and I think for a couple of weeks they were just kept on products relating to a cow. Yeah. And all the surgeons and the doctors had told them that you've just got a few weeks or months to live, and that guy's cancer actually completely disappeared, and he is now settled back in India. He was in US. He settled back in India and is now just promoting this. So I would probably not discount it out completely. Just a few teaspoons of ghee a week should not be harmful. It may even do a lot of good, because it says that ghee has got a lot of good omega-3s.
yeah, true. Thank you very much for these sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. Indiraji?
Namaste, Dineshji. I always follow your sessions. I love your life experiences and what you share with the scientific reasoning as well. We are non-vegetarian, but since I've started my meditation in exactly 1 year, 1 month, say, I stopped eating meat and non-vegetarian, and I don't crave. I mean, I usually used to love eggs, but that craving has gone completely. And I do Ekadashi fasting, but I feel very hungry. I eat light meal in the evening, but still that craving is still there. I mean, I can't say that I'm really happy throughout the day, but I'm trying. So one of my friend, I mean, he meditates since past 20, 30 years, and he actually started with nirjala on Ekadashi. So he doesn't even take water.
Try fast.
And he complete, yeah. And he says his energy levels are so high, and he recently got COVID, but even during the COVID time, he could manage without water. So I think it's basically the willpower, isn't it?
It is willpower, and
Yeah.
even with yourself, over a period of time, you will get used to fasting. Now, try fast is obviously a little more difficult, and anyone with kidney disease or other ailments should probably not do a dry fast. They should do a water fast. And last time, as I mentioned, there is a fast mimicking diet. The Vaid always says if you eat very light food, that is equivalent to a fast. So in your case, when you fast, having a very light food meal will be equivalent to a fast, but the body will get trained and used to fasting.
Okay. I have got few questions actually. I mean, when you said the data, you were sharing the data. So vegetarianism is very much in India. Actually, if you look at Gujarat state and all.
Yes.
So do you have any data about our India, like compared to the states where they eat non-veg and like vegetarian? Do you have any data?
I don't have the data with me, but you may be surprised, it is very, very surprising. I went to India after nearly 20 years, 2 years ago, and I was really shocked to see what transformation has taken place in being a Gujarati. I obviously went to Gujarat. The transformation that I saw in the Gujarat cities, everywhere you see a Kentucky Fried Chicken, you see a McDonald's. The whole Gujarat has been transformed, and it was there when I realized that Ahmedabad is probably the diabetes capital of the whole world. Everybody is, by being vegetarian, you cannot necessarily be healthy. You can only be healthy if you are a vegetarian and not eat junk food. Everybody is eating junk food, and that's why, there's no point in comparing statistics. It's only when one does not eat processed food, junk food, fast food, that is when you can have benefits of a vegetarian or a vegan diet. Even by becoming vegan, one of the offices that I I visit very frequently is one of my centers is Cardiff, and in Cardiff, after I turned vegan, there is a restaurant, and it is actually called Greasy Vegan. So I was just wondering, what does greasy vegan mean? I went inside and everything is fried. Everything in that restaurant that they sell is fried. So there's no point in being a vegan if you are okay. I understand if you're doing it for the purposes of animals and the compassion towards them, then that's fine. But if you're going to eat greasy stuff, then it's not going to help with your health.
Yeah. So surely I have seen a lot of difference. I mean, I feel very light and happy, and I enjoy meditation. And I feel this transformation is because of changing my diet to vegan, not vegan exactly, vegetarian. But like I live with my family, they eat, but I can surely say I am still cooking, but I can surely say the amount of what I used to cook, even my son, Now he says like he don't want to eat regularly. Only sometimes he'll ask. Otherwise, I'm actually hardly cooking any.
So
Yeah.
it will, you know, your determination and, you know, your enthusiasm will spread to the others in time as well.
Thank you. But regarding the dairy
Dairy,
foods,
yes.
is it we are talking about because of the animals are slaughtered, we are not need to use it, or because if we see there are some ethically farms and they do it and they have their history, so there is like little more price, but because I love my yogurt.
So yogurt,
So
you can, you know, if you think about it, yogurt, you can have yogurt which is plant-based. So peanut yogurt, you can have soy yogurt, coconut yogurt, all of these. And there's so many videos on YouTube which will show you how to make it. Or here in UK, they are sort of available in the superstores. So, you know, you can, once you switch over to a plant-based yogurt and, you know, within 2 to 3 weeks, you will acquire the taste, and you will not need to go back to the milk yogurt. There are, you know, the casein, the protein, the cholesterol in milk is actually harmful.
Okay, thank you very much. Very much gratitude to you, and really love your session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There are a couple of questions. One is, if one consumes yogurt, is it to be eaten at a certain times of the day? So in Ayurveda, it says, you know, after afternoon, meaning in the evening or night, one should not have yogurt. So ideally, it is better to have yogurt in the morning or at lunchtime. So then the other question is, what foods are advised during Ekadashi? So Ekadashi, obviously, you know, it's different types of fasts. One is a dry fast, nirjara. The second one is a water fast, which would be, you know, you would have water or herbal tea or lemon juice. The third is where you would, if you can't do a water fast, do a fast where you only have fruit. So if you can do with that, that's even better. Otherwise, there are certain foods like potatoes, etc., carrots that you can have in an Ekadashi. But don't use fried foods. Sometimes, you know, one says you can have potatoes, but you have chips, then it's not helping you with the health benefits that you could have if you had just fruit. Thank you, everyone. Is there any other question? Otherwise, we can then move on to a 10-15-minute meditation session. Let me share my screen once more. Start off with a quote. You have a treasure within you that is infinitely greater than anything the world can offer. This is from Eckhart Tolle. You have a treasure within you that is infinitely greater than anything the world can offer. So friends, let us start our Anapanasati meditation. Anapanasati meditation is observing our incoming and outgoing breath. Focus on the breath. If you get any other thoughts, please bring your focus back to the breath. We should not try to fight with our thoughts. Just changing the focus is enough. Do not give energy to your thoughts. There are a lot of new joiners to this group today. In case you use any other technique to meditate, please feel free to use that technique. I will start the music now. Friends, slowly bring back your awareness to the body and your surroundings. Place your fingers on your eyes for a few seconds. Thank you, everyone. Just wanted to say a big thank you for everyone who has joined. Today was the third session. We still have 5 more sessions left. We've done the first pillar. There are 4 other pillars left. And this actually is all about holistic health and longevity. Making some small changes will actually enhance our life, our energy levels, will increase our health span, and will really help us spiritually. I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank Rameshji and Madhuji for the wonderful work that they're doing on beam meditation, and for giving me an opportunity to present this series on their platform. So thank you, Rameshji and Madhuji.
Thanks to you, Dineshji. And it's a great opportunity to hear Master's wisdom, So we are so very grateful to you for being available to share all these wonderful, wonderful learnings and wisdom. So thank you. And yes, friends, so thanks for also being here and being part of these nice sharings. Yes, Dinesh, you want to add something?
There is a question on the chat. How can we subscribe to information on future events?
Yeah.
If you want to put in the link to joining the WhatsApp group, so that everyone is informed of all future events.
Yeah, sure. So yes, we will be sharing the WhatsApp group link here, wherein we would be in the WhatsApp group, we will be posting all the details of the sessions that are happening. We are doing daily morning 6 a.m. and daily evening 6 p.m. meditation sessions, Germany time. So which means UK time, it is 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. So in the evenings, we have various masters daily coming forward and sharing their wisdom, and then having also meditation sessions. So the WhatsApp link will be posted here in the chat. Feel free to join, and we wish you all a wonderful journey till we meet back on Beam platform. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you.